It's time to put some respect on Darcy Cameron's name. Let's talk about it. So, I've been saying this all year. I've said it in a couple of videos recently, and I'll say it to anybody that will listen. Darcy Cameron will finish top 3 in the Copeland Trophy, if not top 2. He had another incredible game against Carlton. This year, he's just gone to extended heights. He's our number one ruck. He's probably top 5 ruckman in the league at the moment, if you're going off like player ratings for players that have played the same amount of games with him, and we'll look a little bit about that as well. His very best year, just in general for Sydney, for Collingwood, he's averaging at the moment 13.32 in player ratings. Last year, he finished at about 10 on his player ratings, averages 10.8 from all the seasons that he's played. So he's already going up. He's played 20 games this season, and when you compare that to players around the same sort of games, he's doing better than Kieran Briggs, who's up 13.07. So he's for the Giants, doing better than Luke Jackson, 13.28. And this is obviously just AFL, just the player ratings that I'm sort of basing this off. He's nothing like, doing better than Tim English. Tim English is at 12.6, so he's doing better than Tim English. Tristan Sherry, who is probably all-Australian ruckman, He's dominating at 15.37, and I think Max Gawn is the other one that's right on top. Yeah, played 18 games, 17.02. So when you put him next to these big names, Darcy Cameron really stacks up, and you've got to think that he played, 8 weeks without a second ruckman. So without Mason Cox in the side, he had to weather the storm of being the only ruckman. There were some sort of pinch hitouts when sort of McStay came in, or mainly Billy Frampton, but there wasn't. Nathan Kruger, sorry, not Dan McStay. Nathan Kruger and Billy Frampton. But there wasn't a second ruckman that could take over his spot. So he was doing it all alone, and was absolutely dominating. His best game this year probably came against, or not probably, definitely came against Geelong. He scored close to 150 AFL fantasy points, kicked a goal, 18 disposals. He's had a career high 58 hitouts, 4 clearances, and just like 2 contested marks, a couple inside 50s, freeze 4, score involvements, 6 intercept possessions, which I want to talk about a little bit later. So that was sort of a career-defining game where everyone's like, okay, Darcy Cameron can ruck. And you got to remember that we traded for Darcy Cameron for a bag of chips. He is a Ned Guy special. We know Ned Guy, much maligned, and we know he's not our favourite. But what he was able to do to get Darcy Cameron over the line, we gave Sydney a bag of original Smith's chips, and we got Darcy Cameron, who is now a premiership ruckman and who's having just an incredible year. So one thing I want to mention, in regards to all the rucks in the league, Darcy Cameron, look, he's about in the average bracket for like disposals, hitouts, and marks and stuff like that for ruckman. But he ranks elite in 3 categories, which I think is where he's taken his game to the next level. He ranks elite in contested marks, averaging 1.9, or you can call it 2 contested marks a game. Averaging elite in intercept marks, averaging 2.4 a game. And ranks elite in intercept possessions, averaging 4.6 a game. Now, that's one thing that I noticed against Carlton on the weekend. And one thing I've noticed all year, I feel like, Darcy Cameron was always that guy where you can either push forward or he can push back when he needs to. But I feel like for some reason there's been an emphasis on pushing back and intercept marking, being that 7th sort of defender down there. And that could be because there's no Nathan Murphy or we've been really light in our defense. But I feel like Darcy Cameron's hands have just been like absolute glue. And I feel confident that whenever a ball is coming into Darcy Cameron's vicinity, he's going to mark that ball, because his intercept marking and his intercept possessions have just been off the charts, and you can see that he's ranked elite in those categories. So you can see that whenever he's getting that ball come down the line, he's marking that ball. Like I saw against Carlton, there were a couple of marks coming into the defense, and I was like, oh, that's just Darcy Moore doing his thing, and it's turned out to be Darcy Cameron, and he's done that all year. So I don't know if it's really a big positional change, but I think it might be a bit of a mantra change, and that's what it seems like to me anyway. And I think that's really what's elevated him to the next level. You know, based on everything else, like rucks and like what I just talked about, it's just average, nothing above average that much compared to other rucks in the league. But these elite categories just shows that he's added another bow to his string and something that we've been calling out for. And now with Mason Cox back in the team, we can see Darcy Cameron doing a little bit more of that. It doesn't have to play forward a lot now because we have those big talls, but at least now he has someone to rotate with. He can drop back when he needs to. He can stay on the wing when he needs to. He's that other tall timber that we have. And he does play well by himself, but he plays even better with Mason Cox in the team. Our rucks at the moment are Darcy Cameron, Mason Cox, Aiden Begg, Oscar Steen, Iliro Smith. So Iliro Smith, mid-season draft pick, still has a couple of, maybe a couple of years before he sort of hits the big time. I love everything that he's absolutely doing. It looks, kind of reminds me of a young sort of Josh Fraser with a little bit more grunt. McRae loves him. McRae did say at open training a couple of weeks ago that he's still learning our system, which sort of makes sense. He's only, 19 or something like that. But he's going to be a beast. Aiden Begg and Oscar Steen are both injured. They're both out for the season. They're both out of contract. Oscar Steen is looking at a contract extension. I think Aiden Begg might be the guy that both mid-season draft picks from memory. Yeah, I think they are both mid-season draft picks. Aiden Begg might be the guy that doesn't get a contract extension and we say goodbye to at the end of the year. But Oscar Steen, they're looking at a one-year extension because Mason Cox is 32 or 33. He's only got one more year left in his contract. I dare say he retires at the end of next year, along with some other guys, maybe Jeremy Howe, still side on him. I think at the end of next year, we see an influx of the older guys leaving. But I think Mason Cox will be one of those guys. And then it's just Darcy Cameron, who is, sorry, Darcy, I think you're 28 or 29. So he hasn't got a lot of support. So it's Oscar Steen and Iliro Smith that are going to be the ones coming up. So expect to see a lot of at least Oscar Steen coming through. From what I've seen in the VFL, I like what he does. Hasn't really had a good run at it. Has had those injuries throughout the year this year. So hopefully he gets an uninterrupted preseason into him so we can see a little bit more what he does. And don't be surprised if we do look at another ruck to sort of help out. There were rumours that, well, not rumours, it was confirmed that Todd Goldstein, it was either going to be Collingwood or Essendon. He picks Essendon. So we are looking for another mature ruck type. So don't be surprised if we're looking at that in free agency or something like that. But in conclusion, Darcy Cameron, I said top 3 in Copeland. It could be top 2. It could be Nick and Darcy. And I think that would be the perfect ending to an incredible season by an incredible player who literally came to us for a packet of chips. But let me know your thoughts down below. Darcy Cameron, what do you think? Should we go for another ruckman? Who do you think is going to step up? Who do you want to see in our team? Let me know your thoughts down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.